Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm very excited about being here today with all of you. I am Andrea Donnelly. If you are new to me and my world, this is actually the first time that I have ever gone live on YouTube. I have done these channeled forecasts for a number of years, but I've done them on other platforms and I've been getting a very strong nudge from my team of beloved cosmic guidance and God, who is one of my greatest sources of communication and inspiration, to start going live here on YouTube. So here I am. I am a clear channel. I have had a really wonderful, profound connection to my team of ancestors and guides since I was a baby. I channel light language. I am the creator of the Future Medicine Healing Modality, which is an amazing healing modality that I like to call a truly multi-dimensional approach to healing, which targets three key areas: your body, your mind, and your spirit, to create really rapid, long-lasting results. And it incorporates energy work to retune your highest frequency, which is the part that addresses your body. It incorporates light language to help you instantly embody the truth of who you are, and that addresses your spirit. And then the last part of it is the channeled information, so accessing the higher dimensions to help you move forward. And this is the part of it that addresses your mind. And if you have been on this journey with me for a few years and you're familiar with my story, you know this, but I used future medicine to heal myself from previously disabling chronic, as well as lifelong struggles with anxiety and depression. And so I am a really big believer in the power of the metaphysical. And I now work with people all around the world to share this future medicine, this work, and to help people become more embodied and just live better, deeper, more fulfilling, happier lives. So this is my July channeled forecast. It is Friday, July 12th. It's a little past 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. So if you are here with me live, I would love to know where you're tuning in from. And if you are catching the replay, I would love to know how this lands. I have a rich body of channeled lives that you can go through if you resonate with this, if this excites you, if you're into this. I have a whole video that's all about my modality and more like diving more into why it is that I created it, the beautiful results and experiences that people have reported as part of receiving future medicine and doing these channeled lives, which I do every month-ish or so, is just such a fun, really important part of my work, and sharing insights into the cosmic web of creation around us as we move into and with and through the golden age or the new earth, whatever words you want to put to it, right? We're in very profound, very powerful, very different window of time than anything we've ever experienced on earth before. So you can think of me as like your cosmic connection. I channel, as I like to say, all the good vibes. So I channel the angelic realm, the animal realm, the earth herself, the ancestors. I have a very deep, beautiful connection with the elemental realms, the fairies, the plants and the animals, and the intergalactic frequencies that exist. So I have a really profound connection to source and to the guides, and I love sharing this time with all of you. And today is special because today's theme is emerging from the chrysalis, are the words that I kept seeing when I was tuning into the energy that we're moving through now as we navigate July, this summer in 2024. But the cool thing about a channeled forecast is that whenever you tune into this is exactly when you quote unquote need to hear the messages that are coming through. So if you are, whenever you find this, this is just a powerful invitation to lean into the wisdom that is shared. And if you have been following me for some time, then you have perhaps heard me talk about how last year, the theme last year in 2023, from my perspective, what I was, we'll call it reading the room, to, being able to like see energetic threads that run through the collective and through our individual human experience. The big vibe last year was what I leveraged the brilliant Charles Dickens when he said, it was the best of times and the worst of times. And last year really had that vibe. And if you were alive down here on Earth during 2023 and you're picking up on what I'm putting down and you want to commiserate and, reflect and share and say if that resonated with you. But I know a lot of my clients felt that way when I would go live and I would talk about, sort of why that was happening. People felt like that was the truth. There were incredible things that unfolded for each of us individually and collectively last year. And I say this myself. But there was also, we'll call it a big opportunity to rise to meet yourself in a new way. So if you had, I tend to think of our human experience as in the following way. So when I think about, why it is that we incarnate, why it is that we come down to earth, why it is that we move through the experience of being in a human body, right? Like engaging with ourselves, with our families, with our communities, with the life that we choose and create for ourselves and live while we are down here on this planet. One of the big things that I see is that we all tend to have what I call meta lessons. So certainly, we have all kinds of rich, dynamic ways through which we learn and remember the truth of who we are when we are in a human body. And what I think of meta lessons as is the meta lessons tend to be like the big things that carry through in our own life as we move through the human journey. Now, these things, as we show up, we engage in a spiritual practice, we heal our ancestral energy, we heal our physical body, we lean into living in new ways and really remembering who we are. These lessons often get easier. They become, you may end up with what I love to refer to as like a champagne version of a problem that might have previously really been a lot. But these meta lessons tend to fall into the buckets of money and security, health, and love. Those are three of the big things, right? There might be other things that you may, feel like are part of your overarching human experience and this journey that you chose to embark on when you came down here. But starting in the fall of 2022, so I'm going to invite you, as you're listening to this, to reflect back to where you were at that time. And I mean, literally, like, where were you on the planet? Where were you emotionally, professionally, interpersonally? Like, what was your life like at that time? Because when I was tuning into the energy of this and talking with my guides and communing with God about what it is that I was going to share with you here today, I kept like hearing the phrase karmic digestion cycle. Okay, so if you think back to where you were in the fall of 2022, in the fall of 22, in my own life, I had just moved into a new apartment in a new city, and I had been leaning into that for quite some time. I had moved out of the state that I had been living in prior, and I ended up moving somewhere new to me. And I was going through some really big transitions. I was going through a lot of really deep personal healing, reflecting on some things that I've been working on personally. Some of my meta lessons, which have to do with my physical body. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, I was had previously disabling chronic nerve pain. I had a back surgery in 2018. I've had some really intense struggles over the course of my life. But the thing about me is that because I always had this really profound capacity to be able to channel and very clearly hear God and my guides and my ancestors, I was always shown that my experiences that I was living through were really meant to help me remember who the F I am, the enormous, innate, profound, divine wisdom and power that I possess and that each of us has, right? And there's so much that is happening down here on earth, it can make it hard to remember the fullness of who you are, the dynamic capacity that each of us has to be able to live in our heart, live in our intuition, be really connected to these subtle energetic realms that are really what have held me safe and kept me moving forward as I moved through what I refer to as some real messy years. I got into a bunch of car accidents. I had nerve pain. I struggled with depression and anxiety, PTSD. I had a whole slew of complex things that I had moved through as a kid that were all pretty intense. So I've had a lot of meta lessons myself down here this this round in a human body, and those meta lessons, whatever your the big lessons, like maybe making money is no problem for you. Maybe that's super easy, right? There are people who are really good at things like at making money, at having a dynamic, they found a career that they love, sources of income, things that really light them up, but maybe they struggle with love, right? And conversely, maybe you had met the love of your life at a young age, but you've struggled with health problems or finances or things. And so there tend to be these themes, right? These meta lessons that follow us through. And again, the more you show up, the more you do the work, the more you unpack your rich, ancient, dynamic, energetic, and physical history, the easier these lessons tend to be, but they still often carry through because they are the things that I tend to believe we agreed to engage with so that we would learn and remember who we were before we were born. I think that before we incarnate in this or any lifetime, that we incarnate with an intention to be able to really master new things about who we are and to lean into whatever these meta lessons are and use them to be able to continually transform ourselves, to transform the way we show up in our physical body, the way that we engage with our community, the way we steward our families, the way we engage in our interpersonal and professional spheres, the way that we steward the earth. We're at such a dynamic point of expansion, and last year really kicked that stuff up, right? How many people just felt like so triggered by the complex things that were unfolding for you last year? If you resonate with that, like I said, go ahead and just let me know. I would love to hear about what you experienced and learned and remembered about yourself last year. And again, how that energy of like the best of times and the worst times presented itself in your life. Maybe there were things that were like on freaking fire that just felt like they were going so well, which I had things like that too. My business changed so much in some really, really beautiful ways. I had things in my life that happened last year so extraordinary, like literal dreams come true. And then there were these other ways where certain things were really, really complex and challenging, and kicked me in the bottom, as it were. So I've talked a lot more about those things on previous lives. So go back in and you can dive into the channeled forecasts from last fall, or any time leading up to now, to find out more about how all of that played out for me. But the reason why I wanted to touch on that again is that that phrase that I kept hearing, that idea of karmic digestion cycle. And if you have ever worked with me or you know me, often I will, like, the guides will just sort of put something on like repeat play over and over again. So that idea of a karmic digestion cycle. Were there things that you feel you really like went deeper into last year and in the first 6 months of this year than ever before? Were there ways that you feel like you were really called forward to close out certain karmic cycles that some of us have been carrying, carrying through with us going back lifetimes? And this window that we have moved through and that we're moving into was it felt like we were, at least for me and from a lot of what I saw and the feedback that I received from people, that it felt like we were, in the chrysalis. That's why I call this emerging from the chrysalis, right? When butterflies are formed, they go into their chrysalis and they dissolve into goo, and they come out the other side, this beautiful, fully transformed being. And that's what last year was like for so many of us. Like, who I am sitting here today is very different, right? In some ways, we're all always the same true person who we are. Our heart and our soul always shine through and remain steadfast through what I believe is this in all lifetimes, right? The gifts that we were created by God to share and to live and to express as part of the divine orchestra of cosmic creation. Those things stay and remain, but the energetic noise, the stress, the fears, the shames, the grief, the ways that we maybe have doubted ourselves, not followed our intuition, not leaned into the fullness of who we are, right? The ways that we have tried to suppress who we are, the truth of who we are to fit into our family or culture, society, right? There are so many different ways where we are told we have to be a certain way. We need to look a certain way and be a certain way and act a certain way and do certain things to be able to quote unquote fit in on earth. But last year was like a massive invitation to say, what are the ways that you have been suppressing your own voice, your own creativity, your own, capacity to love yourself and engage with the world around you in ways that really light you up? And so, as part of that karmic digestion cycle, you likely were met with, new layers, new versions of things that you had potentially felt like you had, done a lot of work on leading up to that window of time. And I will tell you, I healed my body from previously disabling chronic nerve pain. And then last year, I suffered a really bad injury that kicked all of that back up again on the tail end of the 4 most successful months I've ever had in my business. See, so when I talk about that energy of like the best of times and the worst of times, I know I lived through that. I saw the things that unfolded for my clients, right? And so there's also an energy right now as we lean into that concept of like karmic digestion cycle, closing out these karmic loops, some of which might have been carrying through, multiple lifetimes leading up to now, that as you met yourself in these places of, we'll call it opportunity, right, to rise into something else, to continue to move, you likely started to see and remember pieces of who you are that you might have not felt fully safe expressing prior to. I feel like I look different. I feel like I move different. I feel like there are so many different ways that the experience of living through that energy of karmic digestion cycle. I love that word, and there's something about it that I'm just like, yes, that's exactly it. So if that also resonates with you, let me know. And like I said, I would love to know the themes that unfolded for you in 2023, leading up to now and in the first 6 months of this year, because as part of that experience, right? Of the karmic digestion, of going into your own chrysalis, your own cocoon, of potentially dissolving it into some serious goo, and emerging out of the other side, coming out, right? A fully reformed being with beautiful wings and a whole new level of dynamic capacity to fly and to engage with the flowers, if we're continuing to use this butterfly metaphor, right? So I would love to know how that presented for you, how you're feeling now, and what I have also been shown in my. I remember waking up a couple weeks ago. It was Friday, June 28th, is I believe what the date was, and I woke up couple weeks ago on Friday, and I could feel that the energy on the planet, in terms of the heaviness that we had been moving through, for the year and a half, frankly longer, right? We've really been in it down here on Earth for quite some time at this point. I woke up on June 28th, which was a couple Fridays ago, and I could feel that the energy on Earth had shifted again. Now, if you know my story, you have likely heard me talk about how there was a day in 2020, it was March 13th or 14th of 2020, where I woke up and I could literally feel that like the wind on Earth, as it were, had changed. I had been being shown for decades leading up to this window of time in 2020 that someday I was going to start a business and share, a healing modality with people around the world and all of these things. And I woke up this day in March. It was right before, all of the things unfolded in 2020, that we all remember and lived through. And I could feel that everything was different and that things were basically never going to be the same again. And in some ways, right, like that's always the truth about being on Earth. Things are always changing. We're always growing. We're always shifting. But there are these, we'll call them like pockets of time, where really, really big levels of both collective and personal transition unfold. And in 2020, when I woke up on that day, I also knew that I was being called to start my business. At the time, I was still disabled by nerve pain. I had an active application pending for long-term disability. I'm not laughing, obviously, at my circumstances. I'm just laughing because, wow, what a dynamic ride it has been for me as someone who has gone through massive shifts, in a public capacity in a lot of ways. Because if you have been following me or working with me since the beginning of my journey, my body is different, my life is different, and I was always shown in my prayer practice, my meditation practice, my communication with God and my guides, that was what would happen. But to actually live it was freaking surreal. And here I am, 4 years later. So that happened in 2020, where I felt like I woke up, I could feel that the wind had changed, and that like Earth was never going to be the same again. And that feels like that was accurate. And now here we are, right? 4 years later, a little over 4 years later, and I had that similar feeling on June 28th. I have chills as I'm saying it, where I woke up a couple Fridays ago on June 28th, and I felt that same energy. What's interesting is if you listen to that big, big energy of like transformation, like nothing was ever going to be the same again on Earth. And we've had some really interesting things unfold in the past couple of months. We had a really unusual eclipse that occurred, and the vibration of that felt really big in terms of like the energy of leading up to this big pocket of potential and interpersonal shifts. So, Carol, let's see, what are you saying here? March 2020 was your spiritual awaken. Yes. Oh my gosh. And then this March, you started your own medium business, which is amazing. Yeah, we really, and you can, I feel, I always get really like excited by hearing the things that people share. But Carol, that's so beautiful. You can now stand tall. And isn't that just like the best feeling, right? It's not necessarily, I always say this about the entrepreneurial journey. It's not the easiest thing that I've ever done, but it is the best. It is the best. Being an entrepreneur, having a way of really engaging with your own dreams, your own vision to be able to create impact and change. It's a really important decision. And if you were called, to share your medicine and wisdom, it is really beautiful that you heard that call, Carol, and that you listened. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So a couple of weeks ago we had another really big window of wild global transformation. And I'm really interested to see how the remainder of this year plays out. I cannot wait to see how things shift as we move through the remainder of this year, because that energy of potency, of transformation, of like nothing is ever going to be the same again. One of the things that I said in the as I did energy forecasts at the end of last year, looking at what I saw coming for all of us as we move through this year, was another really big wave of awakening, right? I mean, that was the thing about 2020, was it was chaotic and it was intense and there was so many moving pieces and there was a lot happening. So many people started to really remember their connection to their own heart, their connection to their intuition, their desire. Like you said, Carol, right? You found that you leaned in, you listened to, the guidance and the wisdom that was coming through, and how amazing it's been that people welcomed you with open arms. And I think for so long, so many of us who had the spiritual gifts, who were still connected to that level of intuition and divinity and love, really, really struggled, right? It didn't feel safe for a long time to share that level of insight and wisdom with our families, with this planet. It was intense, but things are different now. And I say this as someone who's been on the spiritual journey for decades at this point. I turned 45 in April, and I started meditating when I was 17. I've had this deep, profound capacity. I've been psychic in all the ways, and had a really profound, powerful spiritual connection to God and my team since I have memories as a baby. I've channeled light language since I have memories, and it's different now. It's different now. Certainly, there have always been, really powerful saints and sages and wise wisdom keepers who incarnated into a human body and shared those truths. But there's a way that we are all being called. Everyone on earth is being called to remember the enormity of who we are right now. And so, so to go back to that, right, that theme of emerging from the chrysalis, if you are in a place where you did really listen to the nudges, listen to the things that were being shown, to really lean into, to heal, to start to move in very different ways. And you heard the call and you did the work, even if it felt, messy and imperfect, which I think is another, stone cold truth about the human experience is, I have had a profound, powerful prayer practice that I have engaged with since I was a small child. I've meditated for decades. I do energy healing and work on myself multiple times every day. Now, I teach other people my modality. I share it in all different kinds of ways with people around the world. And it was not necessarily easy for me to roll through last year, because of how triggering the experience was of being called to go even deeper into healing layers of my physical body, into layers of my ancestral, inheritance, my family's energetic lineage. Like, there were things that I had been working on for decades, and last year called me forward into an entirely new level of experience of going into some of these themes and these meta lessons that I incarnated to live and move through that were challenging. I mean, I can't say that it was always a walk in the park last year, or even in the beginning of this year. I really was, like so many people on earth, called to continue to show up for myself, even when it was not easy, even when it didn't necessarily feel possible. But that's the beauty, right, of being a human. Is we don't do this spiritual work. We don't show up for ourselves, from my perspective, because things are ever going to become perfectly perfect. Like we may, I don't want to dismiss the fact that there's like so much that we can do to create a beautiful, dynamic, wonderful life. But one of the big reasons why I believe that we show up for ourselves and we engage in spiritual practice and in cultivating our own intuition and our own gifts is because it not just helps to make us more magnetic and more powerful and create a life that we really love, right? Of impact, of joy, of creativity, of stewardship, but it also helps us to become so much more resilient so that when the chips are down, when things don't feel like they're easy or coming along or moving in a way that is as fast as you might want it to, if the changes are not coming as quickly, engaging in this spiritual practice, taking yourself so seriously in that way, really working to cultivate your creativity, your cosmic wisdom, your intuition, and your psychic gifts in whatever way they express, because we all have a level of intuition, whether we're meant to share it personally, or professionally, however it plays through. But everyone has this ability. And it is time, it has been time, and it will continue to be time to really start to meet yourself in this place to say, how am I going to show up for myself? And I am reminded as I am saying all of this, relating to this idea of like emerging from the chrysalis and having gone so deep into like new layers of my own healing, and having witnessed so many people around me, my clients and people in the world, in my community, experience very similar levels of, depth, of having to go even deeper into things that we might have felt like we had already like cleared and healed and what have you. That as part of that, I've been, me, I love pop culture. And I've just been rewatching Sex and the City, and there was a quote on Sex and the City, which is something like, maybe the best any of us can do is not quit, play the hand we've been given, and accessorize the outfit we've got. And I can't remember if it was an episode in like the original Sex and the City, or if it was from the reboot, which I've also watched recently, but that really hit me, right? Like, think about that. I'm going to say it one more time, because I feel like that was like the ultimate truth of 2020. It is one of the ultimate truths of the human experience. And if you resonate and that makes sense, and I would love to hear you say it, but I'll say it again. Maybe the best any of us can do is not quit. Play the hand we've been given and accessorize the outfit we've got. It doesn't mean, right, that we're not all also, we don't necessarily love the outfit we've got, to aspire to have a different one. Right? I'm not saying not to like have big dreams and to make moves and to shift and change and all the things, but how do you show up for yourself when the chips are down? How do you still love yourself when you've made what feels like, a million freaking mistakes? Because that to me is why, again, why we do any of this, is to really sit in this place of profound forgiveness. And that is one of the big energetic themes that I'm being shown we're really needing to embody right now, to work with, is a very profound level of personal forgiveness, forgiving yourself if there's stuff that you did last year that you're like, that was hinky nonsense, woulda, coulda, shoulda, wish I had done X, Y, and Z differently. Is not just okay, but it is time to meet yourself in a place of profound forgiveness. If you did things last year that you again with I love that the woulda coulda shoulda, if you're sitting if there are any ways where you were continuing to sit in that energy of, oh, I wish I had done X, Y, and Z differently, it is time to forgive yourself, to have a deep level of gratitude, all of the wins that you might have experienced, big or small, and to just say, okay, I would not have done this thing the same way that I did last year. But what is it that I can glean from that? What did I learn? How am I a different, likely better, stronger person as a result of even the things that I might have done in the past, like year and a half, that are not the vibe, that are not how I would still do them now, right? Hindsight is such a powerful, beautiful wisdom, and we do not, from my perspective, engage in that idea of, hindsight is 2020, woulda, coulda, shoulda, wish I had done something differently. The reason why those lessons and that information and the things you glean from those experiences is so powerful is because it enables you to be able to move differently going forward, right? You don't want to get like frozen in like pure fear paralysis, like stuck, right? We want to emerge from the cocoon, right? We want to come out of the cocoon, come out of the other side, having, however wildly come through the birth canal, pop out the other side and say, I took all that stuff that I experienced last year and the year before and the year before and when I was the little kid and then past lives and like all of right, these things all comprise the fullness of who we are. And so we get to now, having gone so deep, especially in the past few years, into our own energetic experience, into our own physical experience, and really called ourselves forward. We get to now move in this way that is different because we have come out of that cosmic digestion cycle, that karmic cosmic digestion cycle with a level of clarity, wisdom, and an understanding of who we are that is different. So, again, just to like recap, would love to know how you feel like you emerged from a chrysalis in the past year and a half. If you feel like you have like come out the other side of some of those big, what I call meta lessons, things that tend to follow us through. If you had stuff pop up last year, whether it was, financial recalibration, physical, issues, whatever the thing is, I would love to know what it is that you felt like were your big calls to action last year and how you feel like you were able to navigate that, even when it felt like maybe the chips were down. Because the thing is, as a result of all of that work that each of you did leading up to now, here we are. If you have come out the other side, right? Perhaps things feel different. Perhaps you have a new job. You might have moved, your relationship shifted. There was a lot of recalibration that unfolded for everyone in the past couple of years. So I would, again, love to hear how this resonates, if all of this makes sense. And it's really time to forgive yourself. If there is anything that you are holding on to from the past year and a half or even longer, it's time to really say, again, I forgive myself. I forgive those around me. It doesn't mean that, you need to cross your own boundaries or have people in your life that don't, that are not the vibe, that don't like actually like help you to create a beautiful, harmonious life. But it does mean that it is time to embody a level of powerful and profound personal forgiveness. Forgive yourself for any mistakes you made leading up to now. and to really lean into how you took the experiences of the past year and a half and how you're going to use those to propel you forward. Because after we had that shift a couple weeks ago, I would also love to know if you felt that, if you felt the energetic shift on that day that I mentioned, June 28th. I would love to know if you also felt like in that window of time, because when I was talking to friends and colleagues, everyone was like, yes, Friday feel that day, June 28th feels like it was like, the day that everything changed. Like, do you feel that way? Did you feel that way? If you can remember back a few weeks ago, if that feels aligned and makes sense to you. Because like I said, I like popped out of bed and I was like, another big day down here on earth where like, and nothing is ever going to be the same again. So, love to know all of this. I would love to have you, as I mentioned, share how you have emerged from your own cocoon. And I'm going to wrap things up in a minute or two, but I'm going to invite you to I'm going to invite you for, I have a couple of things for you. Sorry. It's very hot here and my brain just went into like a mild heat moment. Okay, so my invitations for you as I wrap this up. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, I created my modality, the Future Medicine Modality, because I was shown for decades leading up to starting my business in 2020 that the earth needed a higher frequency of healing than many of the modalities that were present. And so I created the Future Medicine method process. And the things that I have witnessed people experience as they have moved through working with me have been nothing short of miraculous. It has been extraordinary to see both how I healed my own body, how I've changed my life so profoundly, and how many people have experienced really profound personal shifts as a result of engaging with my work. So I am going to, between now and the end of the year, I think the first one is on July 23rd or 24th, but I'm going to be doing a Future Medicine monthly healing once a month between now and the end of this year. So there are going to be, I have 6 of them. The dates are all planned, the times, and I would love for you to join me, because they're $55 each. So if you can register for each session individually, or you can buy an all-class pass for the 6 of them, which is only $150, which ends up working out, we were in like mid-ish July at this point. It ends up working out to about, give or take, $1 a day, right? $150 for 6 live, really profound, from my opinion. I am obviously very partial to my own modality, but again, I have seen literal miracles unfold through my work. I healed myself from previously disabling chronic nerve pain. I have watched people around the world have such potent, profound, powerful experiences working with me. And it never stops lighting me up. I mean, this is what, like, my dream was always to find a way to be able to really make a difference on Earth. I love this planet so much. I love all of you. I love the animals. I love the plants. I love the water and the soil and the trees and the air. And there is so much beauty on this planet. And one of the other big reasons that I created my modality was to help you to be able to really cultivate that, a relationship to the ground beneath your feet, not just to, your heart, but to the world around you. Because to me, right, God is in everything. God is everywhere. God is how we move in our daily human experience. There is so much power that each of us has. And it really is time now, from my perspective, to just rise into a really different way of loving yourself, loving the world around you, and really moving in a sense of true stewardship, and really finding a way to love yourself, to forgive yourselves. Forgiveness has been such a powerful part of, what it is that I have been talking about, calling into our lives right now. And so I would love to have you join me for any of these new Future Medicine monthly live healings. Again, the all class pass of the 6 of them is $150, or you can register for them individually for $55. I also have, I have different single sessions. I have an animal wisdom session, which is my July special. So you can register for one of those if you want an animal wisdom activation, you want to cultivate your relationship with the animal realms, the elements, the fairies. That is perfect for you. You can book one of those through, they're going to be available to book through the end of July. And then in August, I'll have a new, energetic theme channel session. And I have my celestial soul retrievals also, which are my signature session. I have something called an Akashic exploration session. And I have a bunch of other ways. Starting next year, we'll be going into round 2 of certification program, which is freaking amazing. I love my story. I'm teaching people how to use future medicine. And so if you're interested in that, right, we're not going to be getting started with round 2 until next year. But next year is going to be here sooner than you think. So if you go to my website, then you can also sign up to the wait list, so that as soon as the doors are open, you can jump right in. So anyway, I love you. I am so grateful for you having been here. You can find all of the things. You can book a call with me, sign up for a session, or grab that class pass on my website, you'rehereremember.com. And please like this, subscribe to my channel. I am, a small business. I believe so powerfully in the power of my method. And, if you resonate with this and you have friends, family, anyone who you think would relate and vibe with what it is that I'm throwing down, I would love for you to share my channel with them. And I will be back next Friday. I buried the lead. I will be back next Friday, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to actually be sharing a live free future medicine healing. So please join me in all the ways. I will see you soon. And like I said, you can register for everything on the website. We'll be back here next Friday. I love you. Goodbye.